Hello, I'm Bruce Lorincz, and this show is called Bruce on the Loose. I talk to people throughout Medina County, the city school system, and government. And today we're very pleased to have Justine Sheehan with us. And I have a confession to make right off the bat. I did student teaching for 6 years, and you were the top student teacher, without a doubt. You were tremendously organized, and I just felt I just needed to be there and kind of go through the motions. How was your student teaching experience? Can you describe that?
I'd love to. I absolutely had the best experience ever, and I remember sitting in Akron, and I received my placement, and I got my first pick, which was Wadsworth Middle School. And I remember seeing the teacher's name, and it was Megan Smith, and I was like, I know nothing about her. And when I met her, she was just like amazing. And I remember that first day I was in her classroom, I was sitting in the back, and she got my own desk for me, and I was watching her teach, and I remember sitting there and being like, this is the kind of teacher I want to be. Like, she is just full of energy. You can tell she loves those kids, and she just pours her heart into her job, her coworkers, and her students. And I was like, everything she is what I want to be. And I just took those 4 months, January to May, and I just soaked in as much as I could and just let her teach me anything and everything. And I feel like my success is really from her. And prior to student teaching, I knew the foundation of teaching, I knew the core, but I didn't know how to go from lesson to lesson. You would do a lesson and then you would go back to class, that kind of thing. So to put it all together, I finally felt like a teacher. So that student teaching experience really validated that I had picked the right career choice, and I was ready to have my own classroom and change the lives of young kids, which was my goal.
I would imagine as time went on, you became more confident and realized that you really had it. And again, taking things from Mrs. Smith and your foundation classes, it was kind of interesting as a supervisor's perspective. The first couple weeks that the student teachers were there, when a question would be raised the students would all look at the regular teacher like you were not there. But that certainly wasn't the case with you. You were very confident, but you really gained that ability later on, didn't you?
Yes, and you learn as you go. And even today, I'm still learning. But a lot of times, you teach it once, and then you make changes. You're like, okay, I realize that I should do this example first, or I should word this differently, or word it in a different way again. And then you just improve. So when you teach it 2 or 3 times a day, you get confident and you learn what works at the same time. And then you can really see the success of the students from what you're teaching them, and that's a huge confidence boost and makes you feel good.
You were at the Wadsworth Middle School during the time in which they had initiated a trip to Washington, D.C. And you put your hand in the air and said, yes, if someone can't go, I will do that. Why did you do that, and did that really get you to know the students a little bit better, maybe?
Yes, and it allowed me to meet new students, because you get used to your class rosters, and then you get paired up with kids you've never seen before, because the school is so big, and you just get to learn about students on a more personal level than just in front of a math setting, which that's what the students remember. I always feel like they don't always remember the math you taught them, but they remember the lessons, and I always want to try and make them successful adults, and that's not always teaching them math. We focus on manners, and we focus on dealing with hard situations and working through issues that come up because they're going through the preteen years, and it can be hard.
How important, in your view, is it for students to be active? Let's say, I think you probably might have been in 4-H, just a guess on my part, and dancing, and Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, athletics. I think that helps shape a young person. Do you agree?
I completely agree. I feel that activities outside of academics, or even academics outside of school, are very important. The skills that you learn, you can use those in all through your entire adult life, and I feel it's very important. Like responsibility, and to learn respect and teamwork. Those are all qualities that employers are looking for when they grow up.
During your student-teacher teaching semester, did you in any way, shape, or form think you were auditioning for a future job in Wadsworth?
I feel like yes. I love Wadsworth, so I knew I always wanted to work here. I remember learning some tips along the way and just using those in my daily routine at the middle school to make a good impression, and hoping that when it came time to hiring season that I would be able to go through the process and end a job in my dream location.
Could you, I know being an administrator formerly in Wadsworth, the superintendent and the principals really take hiring very seriously. Could you give in a nutshell what that process was like?
Yes, it was all very quick for me. I remember I was working for my dad's construction company, and I was on a machine, and I got a phone call that Wadsworth was looking for a math teacher, and they had some interviews, and they were still looking. So I remember trying to work and send all my paperwork over, and I ended up having my interview and my teaching part of the interview in the same day. So it was a lot of planning and a lot of excitement. And I remember walking into the interview room, and I had middle school principals, I had the CIS principals, I had the ESC there, and I remember thinking as I walked in that these adults are here because we all love teaching. They're not here to judge me. We're here to just talk about teaching, and I'm like so glad I had that mental state because it was an amazing interview, and I was so happy with how it went. And then I got to teach a math lesson, and we were math ninjas, and it was also very successful. So I felt really good when it was all over, and then just to wait to hear, which turned out to be good news.
And your reaction once you did find out that Wadsworth had chosen you with, again, probably numerous other candidates along the way.
Yeah, so I got the phone call to meet with Dr. Hill, and I was like, oh, this should be much easier, but I was much more nervous. And then school was starting. I didn't have a lot of time before school started, and I taught 4 different levels of math. So it was very overwhelming, but I was up for the challenge, and it has worked out over the years.
That was your initial assignment at the CIS or at the middle school, and now I think you're a 6th grade teacher. Is that right?
Yes. So I started out at the middle school, and I taught 7th and 8th grade math, and then I spent the second half of my day at CIS teaching 5th and 6th grade math. So it was a lot. But it was nice to see the 5th graders compared to the 8th graders, and just the amount of knowledge in between. It was always interesting. There was never a dull moment. But now I just teach 6th grade math, and I love it. Having a team, having 80 kids every day, it's a joy.
It's really important for teachers to kind of really get to know the students. And I know at least at the middle school, the counselors would have meetings, and the teachers would get together and talk about students and their progress and some concerns they had. I think that's really vital to see changes. And sometimes they're very subtle changes. Students not turning homework in, their performance lags. They just didn't volunteer where they used to be volunteering. Those are really signs that something may be happening in the home. Is that true?
Yes, and I feel like communication is key to success when it comes to teacher-student, teacher-parent, parents to their children. Communication is so important, and being flexible and having some grace. You know, no one is perfect, and you have to take that in consideration that everyone makes mistakes, and not everyone's going to be 100% every day, and you know, you work through it, but having the parent involvement is really important for the students.
Are you ready for the next question?
Maybe.
You said you had a great foundation from the University of Akron.
Yes.
You probably didn't have any class on COVID-19.
Oh,
It was a situation that really took our state and nation and the world a big surprise. What were some of the things you did to try to get through that, and how do you think it did affect the readiness of the students and their abilities?
Well, I feel that, thank goodness, I had just finished my master's in instructional design and technology. So I luckily was feeling prepared on the technology side of taking my physical classroom to an online setting. But the hard part was the emotional aspect of teaching and just having so many uncertainties with like what is happening, and just students were scared, and we didn't really know what was going to happen, and we certainly didn't think we were not going to go back to school. So it was definitely a learning curve. The same expectations that I had in the classroom, I had to realize that, okay, I need to have some new expectations and be flexible. And the same thing earlier was just having some grace. If students were falling behind, give them some grace. They're also going through a lot, and their parents are going through a lot. And same thing on my side as well. I was pregnant with my first son, and so it was just scared. It was a scary time, and definitely college, nothing prior to COVID had prepared me for a pandemic, especially teaching young kids.
Yeah, it certainly was an adjustment. And I think, there was last week, you'd be surprised that there was an EPSIS and a poll, NPR poll, saying that 88% of our parents were happy with the progress of their child in school. And some politicians and other people were going to tell us that that wasn't the case, that there was a disconnect between the parents and schools, and this poll says that's not the case.
I feel that I feel that is correct. I feel that students who have good parent support at home were successful, and if they didn't have as much parent support independently, they can be successful, and a lot of them were. But it was a triangle. It was student, teacher, parent, and all three of us had to work together to make the last quarter of the year successful and get them the education that they need to grow for the next year. And being a couple years out now, I see a little gaps here and there, but the kids, they're strong, and if they're motivated and determined, then they're completely fine.
Did Wadsworth have a summer program where some students could do some more? And I know the libraries have always had programs for students over the summer. Those things help, don't they?
I think so. And the biggest thing with Wadsworth is that all the schools, they care so much about the students that they're willing to do whatever it takes. We were delivering food and offering classes in the summertime, and just offering so much love and support to everybody, that I feel like that really made a difference, that even though the students were at home, they still felt loved and cared for through the school district.
You mentioned a couple times, we've hit it around the corner here, but why is Wadsworth a unique place for students to go to school?
I think it's because the community cares so much. You can see it with the new building at CIS, with the levy passing. The community just really cares about the school district, and families want to come to Wadsworth for the school district, and that keeps a strong core foundation, and I feel that it makes Wadsworth stand out.
Do you feel that when you have conferences and you have activities involving parents, do you feel that strength and that unity there as well?
I do. We hear from a lot of parents that are thankful for the community, for the administration, for the teachers, and all that they do, and offering many programs. CIS has a chess club, and we have Pizza and Pages. We have a lot of things that happen outside of school that kids can be involved in, and they enjoy those opportunities.
You know, a few people I was involved in and communicating with in the fall indicated, well, you know, we have a 7th and 8th grade building, and we have other buildings for 5th and 6th grade. Why will we need a new facility? Why are 5th and 6th graders different than other population students? I bet you're able to give me some response on that.
5th and 6th graders, they're a different breed because they're in between stages. They're not an elementary stage anymore, and they're not ready for middle school yet. And it's just a unique age where kids, they need to learn to be accountable and learn to be independent. And it's that stage where the teachers at CIS can get them ready in a nourishing way. And they need that. When they're 5th graders, from 5th to 6th grade, there's even a big change in them. And it's a fun group because I enjoy 6th graders because they enjoy learning and they want to be at school. You know, sometimes when they get older, you know, they have jobs and they have careers that they're looking forward to. And 5th and 6th graders are living in the moment.
They seem to be very excitable. They'll ask questions. You know, once you get, again, as you get into the high school, well, we have to take this class, and, you know, I'm thinking about my job, or, you know, the sport after school. They seem to be real excited, and they want to please the teachers, it seems.
Yes, and they love to tell you things that are going on in their lives. So they'll come in and they'll tell me about a kitten they just got, or a family trip, or something funny that happened with their sibling. And it's just the stories they tell you are just so sincere, and they want to tell you them, and you're a part of their life. You know, you see them for 7 hours a day, and it's a long time. You have a good relationship with them by the end of the school year.
I would imagine the staff at CIS is very excited about down the road a new facility. Has the staff been involved in some planning stages of it as well?
Yes, Mr. Cobb has been amazing with allowing us to be involved and setting up meetings where we're pulled from class to meet with the design team and get to share what we would like to see in our new building, and what the students would like to see as well. He even involved the students. And when we talked to him about the new building, he just beams with excitement that it's going to be everything we've dreamed of, and there won't be separation. CIS, where I teach in the basement, and we enjoy the basement. A team I'll show you, but we do feel a little isolated. So the big thing is that we'll feel more like a big community instead of kind of separated.
Speaking of community, also there's going to be a nice theater there, and there'll be plays and productions, and the senior citizens and all the people of Wadsworth could go and visit, and that's really a good situation too.
It is. Having the community be able to come into the new building and enjoy its resources is fantastic.
What about things that you're planning down the road? Does the new building have any curriculum changes for you? Will you think outside the box, which you always do, and think about things that you could do that you can't do now?
Well, it'll be interesting. I'm assuming I will have new opportunities. I will just have to wait and see what they are. But just being in a new building with more space is going to make a huge difference.
No question about it. Justine Sheehan, I've enjoyed talking with you, and again, you are at the top of the list of my student teachers, and I appreciate your abilities and helping 5th and 6th grade students, and certainly we will watch you down the road, and I'm sure the staff is very excited about the new facility, and congratulations on that possibility. And thanks for viewing Bruce on the Loose.
are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.